Hey YouTube, it's GW with the first deck profile I'll be doing for YouTube. Today I'll be going over my burn variant, which I've been using for the format. It focuses around the card Kaiser Colosseum and locks the opponent so that they don't have a whole lot of options of which they can do. Now, for the spells, we have 3 Kaiser Colosseum, 3 Pot of Duality, 3 Wave Motion Cannon, 2 Messenger of Peace, 1 Swords of Revealing Light, 1 Level Limit Area B, and 2 Zombie World. For traps, we have 3 Dark Bribe, 1 Solemn Judgment, 2 Secret Barrel, 1 Gravity Bind, 2 Magic Cylinder, 3 Fiendish Chain, and 2 Ojama Trio. For monsters, we have 2 Lava Golem, 3 Stealth Bird, 3 Deslocuta, 1 Marshmallow, and 1 Morphing Jar, and 1 Effect Veiler. Now for the spells, the whole point of the deck is to get out Kaiser Colosseum with a monster so that the opponent can only summon 1 monster for the whole game. Now what Kaiser Colosseum does, it says when there is 1 or more monsters on the field of the controller of this card, his or her opponent cannot place monsters on the field if the opponent would have more monsters on the field than the controller of this card. What this does is it limits the monsters and essentially the damage that you take for the entirety of the game. It limits synchro plays to where they can't summon their big synchro monsters, and just disrupts decks to where they're stuck with a weak monster on the field and they can't get over your bigger monsters like Stealth Bird, who has a nice butt of 1700 defense, or can't get over Marshmallow, or can't get through Gravity Bind or Magic Cylinder or some other form of stall card. Pot of Duality adds the consistency of the deck. It gets me Kaiser Colosseum first turn or a monster first turn so I can get the Kaiser lock going. Wave Motion Cannon is an alternate win condition. What it does, there's 2 different ways to win with this deck. The first is Kaiser lock and then just slowly burn the opponent. The other is protect is to protect Wave Motion Cannon with the Dark Bribes and the Solemn Judgment and win in 8 turns. Messenger of Peace protects against anything 1500 attack and higher. With Kaiser Colosseum on the field, the opponent won't be able to attack with the 1 monster they have if it has more than 1500 attack. Swords of Revealing Light, it does the same thing. So does Level Limit Area B and Gravity Bind. Prohibits their 1 monster from being able to attack. Zombie World, I discussed in my Card of the Day video. It stops all tribute summoning for Monarchs and for Icarus attack and certain synchro plays like Arcanite Magician. It stops them from being tributed and makes everything on the field, a zombie. 3 Dark Bribe is to protect my pieces like Wave Motion Cannon or Kaiser Colosseum. And same thing with Solemn Judgment, especially since Solemn Judgment can hit effect monsters when they're summoned. Secret Barrel, 2 of Secret Barrel. A lot of dead cards in the opponent's hand because there's not a whole lot of outs to the deck that are actually being played, so that means there's a lot of cards accumulating in the deck. Magic Cylinder and Fiendish Chain are important because they stop the monsters that get under Messenger of Peace and Level Limit and Gravity Bind, such as Full Helm Knight and Sangan and certain Glad monsters, which if they were able to get their effects off, can change the course of the game. Fiendish Chain is also great for stopping, opponents' Raikos and Black Rose Dragons from blowing up the field, and it keeps the monsters on the field and makes it so they're not able to attack, which means, Kaiser Colosseum with my monster on the field and 1 Fiendish Chain is a good lock where they won't be able to use the 1 monster that they have as effect or be able to attack my monster and I can gain advantage. Ojama Trio, like Kaiser Colosseum, it locks the opponent and limits their options. With Kaiser Colosseum already on the field, Ojama Trio lets me summon more monsters because they'll have 3 monsters on the field because I put them on the field. So if I have 1 monster Stealth Bird and a Kaiser Colosseum out and they already have 1 monster, if I activate Ojama Trio and give them 3 more, I can thus summon 3 more of my monsters to gain advantage or to make more burn damage. Lava Golem is one of the MVPs of the deck. It limits their monster options. It gets rid of threats that I can't take care of otherwise, like Herald of Perfection or Scrap Dragon's a pretty big threat in this deck, and it works really well because I contribute Ojama tokens. Even though they can't be used for tribute summon, this is considered a tribute special summon. And it gets around Kaiser Colosseum and limits the number of monsters that they have, so that I can use it to my advantage to lock them down. With it, it's also 8 stars, which means if they do have a tuner, they really won't be able to utilize it, which is a big help because this deck kind of gets hurt by tuners. If they summon a tuner, first turn, and it's the only monster they can have, if I give them Ojama Trio or something else, or they are able to get another monsters, the fact that it's a tuner and they can clear the field and open up their synchro plays and clear their own field, for one monster, it allows them more options when I'm trying to lock down their options. 3 Stealth Bird is for big damage, 1,000 burn damage. Also 1,700 defense is not easy to get over when you have all the stall cards out. Deslakuta is just for mass card draw. It kind of stinks that he has weak defense, that stuff like Sangan and Full Helm can kill him get under Messenger of Peace and Gravity Bind. Marshmallow, 1,000 easy burn damage. Also, the fact that he can't die means that if he's my only monster and I have Kaiser Colosseum, I don't have to have a stall card in order to get a lock going. Morphing Jar is probably the MVP of the deck. If I get him off in the first 2 turns with a Kaiser lock already in place, it's pretty much game over because I get all my answers before the opponent does. It also, loads up their hand for secret barrel plays and, just gains massive advantage. The one Effect Veiler is pretty much, it's important because it has the surprise factor of stopping a whole bunch of effects and synchro plays. I needed another monster because you have to run a decent amount of monsters in this deck, even though the main support for the lock are spells and traps. You have to run monsters in order to, get the lock set up in the first place. So I needed a monster that would provide me some sort of negation effect. I kind of want to bump this up to 2, but it's kind of hard to find room for this deck, even when siding out game 2 and 3, just because each piece is so integral to the lock, and you have to make sure you maintain the higher monster count. An important aspect of this deck is the side deck. It gets you options against worse matchups for this deck. Worst matchups include Glads. If they're able to get off a Bestiari play into Gazeris, you're at a loss for so many cards that it's almost impossible to recover. So you have to, use things in the side deck to help accommodate this. Also, one of this deck's main problems is skill drain, or to an extent Royal Decree. Not as bad as skill drain, but you have answers in the side deck for those sorts of decks. So to the side deck, we have Royal Oppression for plants. Really, it's my only side option. Plants are probably the deck's worst matchup, because if I don't get the Kaiser lock going in the first 2 turns, they got a whole bunch of monsters that they can toolbox within the graveyard. Or they already have so many monsters on the field that, with dandy tokens and stuff, that putting Kaiser Colosseum out, it doesn't really do anything, because they can just tribute for Lone Fire or Caius or something and just create advantage. Neospician Grand Mole is in there to get, as an out when they side out their monster destruction stuff like D-Prison or maybe Book of Moon or something like that. Consecrated Lights and the Fool, Arcane Enforce the Fool, along for 1-for-1. It's a great engine for Black Wings and Infernities. Infernity the Fool is great for, stuff like X-Sabers and stuff that don't have an out to a lot of the deck, or don't have a lot out to that monster in particular, so he can stall for a nice long period of time. And again, I don't have to have a magic or trap card with Kaiser Colosseum out and him on the field to help stall, because he does it himself. Another Zombie Worlds for Monarchs to side in. Once Zombie World's on the field, really, Monarchs can't do a whole lot, except for Dark Dust Spirit. MSTs for Skill Drain and for Royal Decree. And Prohibition pretty much hits everything. Call Bestiari, it stops that. So this is my deck. I went X and 2 Anaheim Regionals. It works pretty well. Give me suggestions if you have them, and please subscribe. Thanks a lot. Later, YouTube.